Chorizo, he had me at chorizo.
Mexican breakfast burrito. Andy's Grill, or Andy's Grill and Custard, I think they call it.
Oh,
It's in
Andy.
South-
They have a-
South Holland. The one, like,
They have a breakfast burrito?
oh my God, it's so good.
So now I could go to Andy and have a breakfast burrito and then.
Good
have
evening, everyone. At this
custard?
time, I'll call to order the regularly scheduled committee meeting for the Village of Midlothian, Wednesday, September 6th, 2023, at 7 PM. Roll call, please, Clerk Moss.
Trustee Burbett?
Here.
Trustee Caveney?
Here.
Trustee Crowley?
Here.
Trustee Hilly?
Here,
Trustee Johnson?
Here.
Trustee Killily?
Here.
Mayor LaRue?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I will open the floor to public comment. Is there any public comment tonight? No questions, just comments.
Does the village have a facility or a time or date or anything for recycling of like electronic TVs, LCD TVs or something?
We try to schedule that with our annual cleanup day, which is in April, end of April, I think.
Yeah.
So, that's about the only one we put on. There's other towns that do it, so.
Yeah, they all seem to be like, opportune time, spring or something,
Yeah.
but it doesn't help us.
Representative Davis is having one in September in whatever town that is, 174th and Dixie Highway.
No kidding.
And one television, he'll accept one television.
I'll look that up.
Okay.
Also, the county operates a program with somebody else, and it's held at South Suburban College. It's a cute little acronym. I don't remember what it's called, but you can look it up.
On the 12th of every
It's,
one day.
No, I believe you can go there every week during the week. It's a recycling center for the
But I don't
acronym,
remember.
it's for hard to recycle items.
I thought it was a lot more chemical stuff. I didn't think it was TVs, the big
Well,
stuff.
you
I don't
can,
remember.
I'm just saying, you can Google it, and look it up, and see if they take televisions. I'm not sure if they do. But they do take chemicals, and they do take some other difficult-to-recycle items. So you can look on there, and it's on your honor system, and they'll catch you if you're recycling something you shouldn't, because the place is loaded with cameras, and they'll get your license plate.
Oh, it's just a drop-off thing?
It's just a drop-off.
Oh, okay.
And it's opened on Saturdays for a limited number of hours, and a couple days a week for a limited number of hours, during the day and in the evening. They have evening hours too.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other public comment tonight? Okay, then I will close the floor to public comment and move on to trustee business. Trustee Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing tonight.
Thank you, ma'am. Trustee Burbatt.
Thank you, Mayor. I would ask that we remove the approval to hire the selected candidate for Public Works Administrative Assistant position. It's not an actual hire, and the language is incorrect. It's really meant to be more informational. We're just doing a transfer from one department to another.
Does any other trustee have a problem with removing that item from the agenda?
No.
Okay.
And then also, I'm looking for an approval to hire Robinson Engineering to perform the water service line material inventory. In the documents for floor docs, there is a copy of that as well as the agreement.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Burbett?
Aye.
Trustee Crowley?
Aye.
Trustee Caveney?
Aye.
Trustee Hilly?
aye.
Trustee Johnson?
Aye.
Trustee Killily?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Anything else tonight? Trustee Burbatt.
No, sir, that's it.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Hilly.
I have nothing tonight, sir.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Caveney.
Thank you, Mayor. First item I would like to go over is the special use application for Bright Visions Learning Center. The zoning board meeting minutes from July 11th are attached. Those meeting minutes, by the way, were approved by the zoning board last night at last night's hearing. We had a hearing last night for two other applications, and the zoning board minutes were approved. So I'm presenting it to the board for their review and discussion. And if the board is in agreement, then we would like to have Attorney Murphy draft an ordinance that will be on board docs next week for approval. And Mr. and Mrs. McKinney are here. They are the owners of Bright Visions. Bright Visions currently is a business operating in Midlothian. They are an early childhood learning center and daycare. Currently, they're located on Cicero Avenue, and they are moving out of that building, and they're relocating their business to 4105 West 147th Street, Midlothian, which is where the old Spread Pizza was. They purchased the building, and they have made a commitment to make lots of improvements and updates to the building so that they can move their business there. So they were required to apply for a zoning variance because they needed to, their variance application included a request to reduce the number of required on-site parking stalls from 22 to 8, to eliminate the required 10-foot wide landscape buffer between the parking lot and Karloff Avenue, because they're on the corner of 147th and Karloff, and to reduce the minimum required drive aisle width from 18 feet to 12 feet 5 inches. The subject property is in a B2 zoning district. The lot is rectangular in shape and bound by 147th Street and Karloff Avenue. As I mentioned, it used to be a Spread Pizza. They're going to expand the footprint of the building with an approximate 2,000 square foot addition that'll double the square footage of the building. The outdoor play areas will be provided for the children between the building and the commercial and residential buildings. And this building does have a, if you recall, there's a commercial building behind it, and then there is a residential property to the west of it. There's, as you can see in the minutes, there's 4 pages of discussion. After the discussion, they went through the requisite findings, the list of 14 findings, and then the zoning board voted, and the motion was carried to approve the special use permit. They needed a special use permit and with the variations.
I have some.
Okay, go ahead, if you have questions.
I mean, I don't
Mr.
know
and
if
Mrs.
you're, I
McKinney
don't know
are
if you're
here.
done yet.
Huh?
I don't know if you're done.
No, I'm
We
not
never know when she's
Okay.
done.
So, I'm done. For the moment, I'm done speaking.
Okay.
Mr. and Mrs. McKinney are here, so if the board has any questions specifically for them, they can address them to Mr. and Mrs. McKinney.
Okay. Okay, I don't know if these are questions or comments or whatever they are. I never know with me anyway. But the bottom line is that I guess there was some confusion because the 22 parking spaces are for any business that locates in Midlothian, not specific to a daycare, is that right?
That is correct. Based on the building code and the requirements for, you have to have X amount of parking spaces for X amount of square feet.
But it's not.
Because this is a daycare, they're gonna have,
Right.
families are gonna be dropping their kids off in the morning and leaving, and then coming back in the afternoon and leaving.
Right. It's not in any code, but, you know, I guess my comment is that it should be something specific. I know the first daycare that's on 147th, the farthest east, we, on the special,
On the,
closest to Kedzie,
okay,
we gave them, they had to jump through some hoops as far as parking and also, I think, where the playground equipment was. But, you know, it seems to me that there should be some standard here to, and I don't know what their standard was. I don't know, you know, whether they're the one next to it, what kind of parking they have, or any other daycare in Midlothian that, you know, everybody should have to follow everybody should have the same standard to follow, whatever that was. I know that they didn't, initially their application wasn't, I don't want to say approved, but it didn't go through because they didn't have enough parking spaces. So I don't know what that was or what
Are
it
you ta-
is.
Well, I believe the daycare, the daycare down the street is now two buildings.
Right, right.
The same owner owns two buildings. One building's for the little kids, one building's for the older kids.
Right.
The building with the daycare for the little kids was there before I became a trustee, so I don't
Right,
recall
right.
I don't recall a zoning board
Right.
meeting for that. When
Right.
she opened up the next building for the older kids, I don't even remember that she had to apply. I don't remember that there was a zoning hearing for that. Do you? I don't recall that there was a zoning. There could have
I
been, but I
recall
don't recall.
talking about it, but there was enough in the area to accommodate them.
To accommodate the parents, because there was parking behind the building.
And on the east side of the daycare, John's hot dog parking lot,
Mhm.
they were allowed to park there too.
Right, right.
So I don't
Because the-
remember a variance or a special use or anything about it.
Does the special use just, special use was been there. But
Yeah.
whatever it is that makes me a little uncomfortable for us to do that, but, you know, they've run, you know, the Bright Visions has done a terrific job, in my opinion, of running a daycare, so,
Mhm.
you know, so that's one question. I think that should be some sort of standardized thing. Number two is.
Well, I guess that's the reason why they had to apply for a zoning variance.
Right.
Is because in the zoning code, there
It's
is,
not
there,
there.
well, no, there, what's not there?
Well, for a daycare, it's not there, how many
Well,
cars?
not for, it's not separately for daycare. There's a
Right.
parking requirement.
Right.
There's parking requirements in the zoning code.
Right,
And if you need a variance from that, that's when you go to the zoning board.
right.
And that's what they did, and the zoning board approved. You know, I mean, Attorney Valadez jumped in here. I was told by Attorney Murphy this afternoon when he and I were discussing this, and he said, you know, there's a couple different steps. You know, the zoning board approves, it goes to the zoning board. If the zoning board approves it, that's fine. Then it has to come to the village board. And the village board can review it. The village board can approve it as the zoning board approved it, or the village board, if they have questions and they're concerned, they can go back to the zoning board and ask the zoning board for clarification, or the village board can override the zoning board and, you know, ask for additional things. I do recall that we had granted a special use to a different business for a different reason, and then found out later that that business had defaulted on paying their real estate taxes. So we had agreed that going forward, if this board was gonna grant any further special uses in the ordinance, we were gonna include that we would require that the property owner maintain their property tax payments on time. Or else we would, at any time, then the village could rescind their special use. So I would like that to be added to the ordinance. But, so I'm asking the board if you guys have any questions, concerns, or issues with what their special use and variance request is. The zoning board approved it, and if you agree with it, or if you have any issues with it. If
Approximately
you have
how,
any questions?
approximately how many employees would you have? Full-time employee?
7 to 8. And some are full and some are part.
So the other question, two other questions I had was, one was the wrought iron fence. Do we know how tall the fence is gonna be?
4 feet.
So, yeah, that was my question, is that pedestrians are gonna be visible on the
Yes.
sidewalk?
Yes.
And is we specified wrought iron? You suggested wrought iron, is that right?
Yes, that's the intent.
Okay, and how, is that wrought iron going to be able to, if a car bumps it, is it going to be strong enough to resist the bump?
I can't say that the wrought iron fence will totally
Right,
resist,
right.
but for the visual of seeing pedestrians walking down the sidewalk,
Right.
and some kind of barrier, yes, for cars, definitely.
It's not just decorative?
No.
No, it's.
Okay,
So, yeah, so it's not, you know how they have the metal
yes,
look fence. This will be actual wrought iron and that will be cemented into the ground. So if a car hit, most wrought iron fences, they bend to a point, the car probably run up on top of it. That's if they really giving it gas, things happen, but it won't be just that ornamental, like, metal fence. This will be iron fence
Okay.
and put on, yeah.
So,
So you're
yes.
choosing to install that type of a fence instead of a wood fence?
Oh, yeah.
A solid wood
You
panel.
want it definitely one of the wrought iron, because you can't, because of the visual, you'll be able to see through it, the pedestrian, people driving a car, and, just aesthetically, I think it will go with the design of the building itself.
The south entrance is the exit, right? They enter by the north, is that right, or I missed it there?
They enter from the north
Right.
and
Go
then
through
exit.
and exit
Yes,
south.
Yes.
Could we specify that there be a stop sign on at that exit? Some people stop at the sidewalk and some people don't. I mean,
I think that's a great idea. Yes.
and the third one, I think, is more of a technical question, and I will converse with Attorney Valadez about that. But I think that answers my questions.
So your third question, you don't need to address before the board or Mr. and Mrs. McKinney? Okay.
Some people stop at the sidewalk and some people don't.
Oh, they don't. Oh,
When they're coming
absolutely.
through, when they're coming through a parking lot,
When
yeah.
they're coming through a parking lot, they should automatically
So
peruse,
where do
see
you,
if there's pedestrians, and
so
some
you're
do.
recommending it be inside the sidewalk, the stop sign?
Yes, yes, sir.
On private property? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes.
They don't seem to have an objection to that.
Well, I mean, I
They
think,
don't seem to have an objection.
No.
I think it would, I don't think we can put something on private property.
No.
Yeah, put it on, makes sense.
Well, thank you for your interest in staying in Midlothian. I agree with Trustee Killey. They run a nice program over there where you're currently at, so. Thank you. Any other discussion, questions, comments, concerns?
Okay, then, if it's the board's pleasure, I will ask Attorney Murphy to draft an ordinance. And the ordinance will also include, in addition to the items set forth in the zoning board minutes from July 11th, it will also include a statement that the McKinneys will add a stop sign at the south on their property at the south exit, so when parents are leaving, they know to stop at the sidewalk and look before they proceed out into the street. And then also, as we had discussed before as a board, we would include a requirement for maintaining property taxes. Does the board have any problem or questions with regards to that? Okay.
I guess one of the questions, are three parking spaces or 4 parking spaces?
I'm sorry.
3 parking spaces or 4 parking spaces?
There are 3 parking spaces.
Would you be upset if we specified 4?
Well, I
That
thought
was
it said-
possibly discussed at the zoning board hearing.
I thought it said 8.
For, to be honest with you, I even brought my attendance sheet of how we sign the kids
Right.
in per classroom.
Right.
And really, in dropping off, there's 1 to 2 cars that come. Although there are potential for 60, 65 students, the number of families that we have is more like 45, 46. And that number of children, because of course, we have families of 4, 3, and things like that in terms of dropping off. Then we have school age who don't come in the morning. They may only come in the afternoon. That is a part of that. Or some children, they come at different times. We have some children who attend the preschool and the school district who don't come in the morning, who may get dropped off at 11:30 when school is out. So it's a lot of different factors in terms of how cars come to our place of business. But and because of the concern with the parking, I really, really have been paying close attention to how children are dropped off, the length of time it takes to get, the children out of the car. I've really been paying close attention to it. And in terms of the number of parks, 2, 3 is very
between.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. I mean, I look at how many are dropped off at 6:30, between 6:30, 6:45, 7 o'clock, and, I mean, I really looked at the hours. The cutoff time at our school that you have to arrive by 9:30. And with a doctor's statement after that at 11, by 11. So it's just not a drop off at, any time. So I think I have really judged, the need for the parking spaces. And I think that 3 is very sufficient.
And if you look on page 1 of the minutes at the bottom, their request was to reduce parking stalls to have 8. They will have 8 parking stalls.
Right, but 3 drop-offs. And the employees don't park there.
Okay, some employees will, but I have 3 who don't even drive. And I have one who's been with me for almost 13 years now, come, I think, the 21st of September, 13 years with me. And she's dropped off and she's picked up. And some who are part-time who, don't drive. So not all, employees drive or will need, cars.
How many
And then-
spaces do you think will be taken up by that place?
I would say maybe 4 to 5. We do get drop-in terms of those who are visiting at the center for potential enrollment. They would use one of the parks that the families use to drop off their children. So we've taken that under consideration as well.
And there's a designated handicap,
Yes, it is. It is.
so that includes that, what you're talking.
Yes, yes.
Ms. Harris, what is your experience in picking up and dropping off your child?
It's fun. Talking about, no, there are rules, so it does work to everybody's advantage, unless you have, like a 9 o'clock cutoff and you have all insurance to start 4:09, everybody just does a quick run, but for the most part, there's never usually 2 people at a time dropping the child off.
It's a pretty well-attended daycare.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. That concludes our business with regards to Bright Vision, so you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting if you don't want to.
So, I did get your voicemail. I'm sorry, I didn't forget about you. I just haven't had a chance to talk to Superintendent Spurrier about the issue, but we'll try to figure something out.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both for coming. Appreciate it. Okay, the next thing that I would like to discuss is an email that I sent you today. Let me see if I can find that email. It was with regards to the zoning board hearing last night regarding the IDOC. I sent you a couple of pages from the packet. I sent you the staff report that was prepared by former Superintendent Witt, explaining what the petitioner was requesting. So Dr. Lauren Wojcik bought this property and bought the business actually from her dad, who retired, and she had restriped the front parking space, the front of her parking without a permit, and the building department had visited with her with regards to it because there was a concern because her parking spaces, actually about the back 4 feet of them protrude into the parkway, which is public space. It's not on her, it's public property. It's not her private property. So in the packet that I sent you the staff report that outlines the background of this. So I'll just read this briefly. The background states, review of an application submitted by the petitioner for a building permit for restriping of the existing parking lot indicated that the accessible parking stalls extend past the east property line and onto the parkway. Per village code, parking on parkways indicates that it's not a violation for a customer to park on a parkway while patronizing a business location. The zoning code requires a minimum of 3 spaces per staff doctor. There are actually 4 parking spaces provided, which meets the requirement. Additionally, the existing parking layout requires customers to back out of the parking space onto the street, which is not permitted. So The existing condition, as previously noted, the parking spaces extend past the property line into the parkway along Colmar. So the petitioners were requesting the following: to allow the required parking spaces for commercial use not to be located on the same lot as the use served, and to allow off-street parking facilities which does not allow a driver to proceed forward into the street. And then I also included the evidence items that, she reported on. Oh, sorry, page 7 was scanned upside down. I included her survey document so that you can get a better idea of where the property is located on Colmar Avenue. So this is a former residential building, it's Cape Cod. Along the south, there's a asphalt driveway that goes back to a concrete pad where the garage used to be. I believe that Dr. Wojcik parks her vehicle there, and there's a requirement that she has to have a handicap spot. Well, she wanted to put the handicap spot in the driveway. So there's no issue with that per se, except that the way the driveway is pitched and the elevation and so forth, there's a lot of rules and requirements with regards to an ADA parking spot. And then she wanted to put the ADA spot there because her handicap ramp her ADA ramp to get into the building is in the back. So further in the package, I provided photographs that were included so you can get a better visual of what this looks like. Okay, and then also attached is the site plan committee meeting minutes from May 2nd.
Trustee Kane, just so you know, the pictures, the photos in the document have the incorrect address.
They do?
They do.
Oh,
They're the right photos, but
what is the correct?
it has Karlov instead of Kohler.
Oh,
Just
got
so you
it.
know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So based on these two requests, Kath, what are they trying to do? Eliminate parking in that parking lot? And
For the
use
IDOT?
Yeah.
She wants to be able to maintain her parking spaces in front of the building is what she wants to do. So that's why she had to apply for a zoning variation, because her parking spaces, 4 feet of these parking spaces is in the public parking.
No, I understand that, but based on this, it says to allow off-street parking facilities which does not allow the driver of the vehicle to proceed forward into the street. So basically, she wants it to be able to be kept as backing out.
Correct.
Got it.
How long has it been operating in
Yeah.
the current configuration?
40 years. I don't know, or more. I have no idea.
Okay.
At least 40 years. I've been here 36 years, and
As long as
the
I
building
can
was-
remember.
yeah.
So the reason that this became an issue is because they striped the lot without a permit?
And she needs to change, and she needs to address the ADA parking space as well. Yes, because she striped it without a permit.
Okay.
So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. The zoning board met on this yesterday, as well as Popeyes. There was also an application submitted by Popeyes for their special use. I'm in the process of finishing the meeting minutes, and they'll get published to the board hopefully in the next couple of days, and then I'll provide the village board with a copy. But I just wanted to bring this to your attention because I'm hoping to get these meeting minutes done today or tomorrow, and I wanted to get the ordinance drafted on this as quickly as possible so that we could get it on, get it on an agenda for the board to vote on. So I'm trying to keep the process moving along here for Dr. Wojcik so that she can get her parking lot striped and get the ADA spot taken care of. Okay. Unfortunately, during the hearing yesterday, there was really no focus on the site plan review committee's comments. And I know that there was a concern from the police department of the minimum distance from her last parking stall on the north side, the minimum distance from that parking stall to the actual hard corner of 147th and Colmar. So there was a concern there.
Was the concern it creates a blind spot for somebody coming out? Is that what it was?
Well, the concern is that somebody making a turn, whether they're going eastbound or westbound off of 147th Street onto Colmar, if they're turning to go south down Colmar, that was the concern, is that somebody, if it's gonna turn south off of 147th onto Colmar, that car is less than 30 feet from the intersection.
Okay.
The comment from many of the zoning board members yesterday was that Colmar is a dead-end street, so there's not a lot of extra traffic that goes up and down that street other than residents and a few of their visitors, because it's not a through street. It's not like if this were Keeler Avenue and you would have people coming and going.
It's mostly gonna be familiar people, and it's been that way for 40 years.
Mhm.
And it's got a clear line of sight too. I mean, you
Yeah,
can see right
What's
through.
what's the page, I don't even know, they're not numbered, page 18, I guess, exhibit 18? Is, the angle's different, but what's the grass area south of 147th prior to the first parking stall there? How big is that grass?
It's less than 30 feet. That's the issue.
I got that.
Yeah, I don't know what
Is
it
it
is.
28 and a half?
I
or
don't,
is
I,
it
no,
2,
I
or-
have no idea. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. But my point of bringing this to you is because I know we're required to discuss these at a meeting before it comes to the board for a vote. So I wanted to get this in front of the board as quickly as possible, and since the zoning meeting was held yesterday, I wanted you to be aware of this application and give you an opportunity to read these documents. Let me know if you had any questions or issues. Because I'm in the process, like I said, I'm completing the meeting minutes. I talked to Attorney Valdez actually attended this hearing yesterday for us. So I would need him to, if the board doesn't have any issues or comments or questions, I would like to direct the attorney to draft the ordinance.
And Kathy, the
Yes.
zoning board is comfortable with the proposal?
Yes, they are. They are. I'm not trying to rush you guys, I just want to keep the train moving forward on this, that's all. So I'm going to, like I said, as soon as the meeting minutes are done, I will share them with everyone. Just wanted you to be aware of it. So Attorney Valdez, do you have anything to add? Since you were at the meeting yesterday?
No, just that the IDOT did a fairly good job of answering the questions or submitting the elements that were necessary for the zoning board to grant it. And the zoning board also seemed to be very persuaded by the fact that it's been there for 40 years and there haven't been any issues that she was aware of or the board was aware of.
Okay, so that's all I have on that matter. Next item is 15207 Lawndale, that is on the agenda. This is the vacant home that the village received a judicial deed on for abandonment. As required, the village posted this property in the newspaper. The attachment is a copy of the posting that was in the newspaper a couple of weeks ago. It was in the Midlothian Messenger. I had followed up with Deputy Clerk Harris last week. As of last week, the village had received no bids.
Really?
Surprise. And you haven't received any since then, right, Jackie? Okay. So the village has received no bids. So I would like to get approval from the board to move forward with engaging Lenny File at Hartside to market this property for sale for us. I did provide the marketing documents, the listing documents, and the disclosure were on board docs a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if I have to provide them on board docs again for approval, but I'd like to be able to move forward. and engage his services to get the property listed and sold.
Anyone have any issues with that? I think John liked what, on the house, right? Pick it up? No? Trying.
So Kath, when we sell it, will we be responsible for any fees, like realtor fees, other
Yes,
taxes?
we'll have to pay. I don't know how the taxes work. Attorney Valadez, can you answer that question? Should we right now file something quickly with the county, letting them know that we're a municipality and we shouldn't have to pay property taxes on this, or be responsible for property taxes? I don't know how that works. So I'm gonna leave that up to you to handle. So I don't know what department in the county to call. I've tried to call the county myself on other properties in town, and nobody seems to ever return a phone call.
I will
So-
warn you, it took years for us to have the exemption status applied to the water tower property and some other parcels in the village, so
I mean, it's ridiculous.
you can file it, but it may not happen before. You may have a purchaser before that's done.
And that's fine, but then is the village responsible to pay taxes?
I don't know the legalities of that, or if we have to pay them, could we get them back?
Well,
Yeah.
Does the village have to own it for a certain period of time in order for it to be?
the village will only
Exempt.
be liable for a month or two of taxes, which on that property may be a couple $100.
Well, I don't know, based on what, the letter I got from Assessor Kagi today, we don't know what the taxes are gonna be. So, but anyways, if, you guys had a meeting with Assessor Kagi, I don't know who would be responsible for this. I don't know if we call the assessor, we call the treasurer. I don't know who at the county, what department at the county we call with regards to real estate taxes. No clue.
Definitely not the assessor, it's the,
Is it the
Usually the
treasurer?
treasurer.
Rhea Pappas.
Okay, well, I don't know anybody in her office, so. Okay, so my
Hopefully we're not
question,
gonna have it long enough to.
fingers crossed, God willing. So, we're good, I can contact Lenny and tell him that we are gonna engage him to sell this building. Everybody's fine with that?
Are we eliminating?
Oh, I'm sorry, you asked me questions. There's gonna be the standard commission fee, which is 5%. That's standard.
If he doesn't sell it like in 6 months, do we sign a contract with him saying we will have your services for 6 months? at a
Yes,
time?
it'll be a limited, yeah, it's not in perpetuity. Yeah, it's gonna be a standard listing agreement, and we can set the time frame however we want. We want 60 days, you want 6 months, 90 days, whatever the standard, I don't know if there is a standard these days. I haven't looked at a listing agreement in a while.
Does that have a lock on it? Or is it padlocked?
It's boarded.
So I mean,
There's
so
no
no
lock
one's gonna
on
be
it.
able to get in to see it.
No, we would have to make arrangements to figure that out. But also, there's, none of the utilities are on, so I'm sure the basement's flooded. So do we leave the basement flooded and let the buyer empty that, or should we have that emptied
Yes.
ourselves? I personally think that we should empty the basement.
Well, but if we empty it and get another rain next week, what happens? It
Well,
fills
then
up
there will
again.
only maybe be a couple of inches of water in the basement instead of 5 feet of water in the basement.
No,
So,
my recommendation is not to do that.
okay, we'll just leave it as is
As
and
is.
sell it as is. Okay. I have one other issue to bring up, as long as we're talking about this. There is a foreclosed home on 147th Street. I believe the address is 4252. It's on the north side of the street. It's a bungalow. It's just a couple doors west of Tripp Avenue. So that house was foreclosed by Freddie Mac. And when I got a copy of the judicial deed, it said Federal National Home Loan, blah, 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 care of Betty Jane at whatever her company name was in Washington State with the phone number. Call the phone number goes nowhere. So I Googled the company and I got sent to a different company called Home Experts or something like that. So I went on their website and went to their contact us page and sent a note in there. And lo and behold, a gentleman by the name of David Woolley answered me. I explained to him that this property is vacant, there's property maintenance issues, there's busted windows, there's a tarp on the roof that needs to be removed and the roof needs to be replaced. And a couple of other, the soffit was falling down. I said, these items need to be taken care of right away. And the bank had already, Freddie Mac had already foreclosed and had already owned the building for over a month. Okay, so now we're getting phone calls from their broker saying, oh, can these repairs be assumed? I said, assumed by whom? She said, well, I showed the property on Labor Day, and there's a family from Blue Island that really wants to move here to Midlothian, and they're, you know, they showed me proof that they got the cash to buy the house cash, and they've got the cash to fix the house up and make the repairs. I said, you were noticed 2 months ago. They've already been in court once. They're due in court again this Monday. They don't want to have to replace the roof. They want the buyer to replace the roof. And they're not giving we're not giving the house away. You know, we've got it listed for $156,000. Well, that's a lot of money for a house that's in disrepair, in my opinion, but that's not part of our deal. That's not part of our responsibility. My issue is that homes are going into foreclosure, and these banks are hiding behind their property maintenance people. When I went to the home and went up to the front door, there was a teeny tiny sticker about the size of a business card that said, if there's an issue with this property, call Safeguard. So I called Safeguard, our friends in Ohio. I said, get the tarp off the roof and re-roof the house. Well, I'll have to call my client. Well, who's your client? I said, I showed that Fannie Mae bought the property, or Freddie Mac bought the property, but it's in care of these people. She goes, well, that's not who hired us. So I don't know how many layers of different vendors are in all of this, but I'm getting pretty sick and tired of banks foreclosing on properties and buying foreclosing on properties here, and then thinking that because they're a bank, they don't have to follow our property maintenance requirements. And the house is sitting there, and this is part of the issue that we're having with squatters, is because the banks are dragging their feet, and their property preservation people, as much as they suck and I hate them, their hands are tied.
Hey,
Sorry.
that's how you really feel, Kathy.
Their hands are tied because Safeguard can't come in and replace a roof without permission from the owner.
Well, I mean, isn't our only real recourse to that is ticket?
Right, we gave them a ticket and they still don't want to do it. And this is the other problem. They come to court, our attorneys are here defending the village, but if the hearing officer lets them off and doesn't make them pay the fine and doesn't assess a fine, well, the problem, John, is we have to assess a fine first. If the hearing officer refuses to give them a fine on their citation, there's nothing to lien. So my issue is that we need, as a village, we need to be tougher with these foreclosing banks, and we need to ask our hearing officer to.
But how do you recommend we be tougher with the banks? Like, we can't control what banks foreclose on, so.
No.
We
But-
can ticket every day up to, what, $750?
Exactly, except
So-
that then we have to ask our hearing officer to please make these tickets stick and assess the fine.
Right.
Yes.
Turn it into a discussion.
I don't believe that they are a quasi-government agency. I don't believe that they are an actual federal agency. So anyways, I'm bringing this to the board because this is starting to become an issue with banks in town. We had the same issue with the house on Keeler Avenue 2 years ago when we had the squatter in there for 24 hours. That was also a foreclosure. The bank dragged its feet. So
Okay. Anything else?
my request is that when the building department issues citations, that I understand that there is a requirement that in some cases we are required to give a person who received a citation, we're required to give them, what do you call it, a 30-day extension? What's it called? Continuance, thank you. We're required to give them a continuance, but they've already been given sufficient notice that they have to do the work. Then they get a citation, they come to court. Usually, they don't come to court for another several weeks, and they still haven't had the work done. Then they come here and they ask for a continuance. So if the hearing officer gives them a continuance, they get 30 more days to get the roof fixed.
I don't think this is the proper environment to have this discussion.
Well,
Am I
it's not?
correct on this?
Yeah, any person who is cited is entitled to due process, and that is free of any direction from elected officials or anyone else to try and.
I'm not saying that they're not entitled to due process, Attorney Valadez. What I'm saying is that I'm bringing it to your attention that it's starting to become a problem in the village.
I would
Okay,
just say,
so-
trustee, that I've been doing this since 1997, and one of the first issues I came up with was exactly what you're describing. And across the country, this is a difficult situation because of the relationship between a first mortgage holder and the foreclosure laws in the country. The only thing a municipality can do is be aggressive in taking these banks to court to mark them. Because this is, every single municipality has the same difficulty, and that is, in a nutshell, this. If we get involved in the repair, if we get involved in the pumping water out of basements, now it becomes the taxpayer's burden for the village of Midlothian to start repairing these properties and doing the work that private owners are supposed to be doing. And sometimes, and again, I'm not saying that we don't do it, sometimes going to court can cost thousands and thousands of dollars, and that's just for one house. And again, I think we've done a fantastic job in terms of hiring the firm that you suggested and that you pursued. I guess what I'm trying to say is I think the village has been very aggressive with these properties. The fact that we've gotten deeds to them, the fact that we've forced them, owners to fork over, ownership rights. The fact that we put an end to the situation with the former public aid building on Kedzie. I know it's frustrating, and I know they keep popping up like little whack-a-moles, but in my opinion and my experience, Midlothian has done a great job in not letting properties linger long when you consider the cost of suing every single bank that does what you described.
Okay, well, this is a committee meeting. We're supposed to bring things up to discussion to the board, and that's why I brought this up, because I wanted the board to be aware of it.
Thank you.
Denson's office has done a great job in getting remedies for us very quickly.
Well, I feel we should exercise our right to ticket them every day if if the buildings are in that much, need that much repair. That's what I think.
And they don't get to cherry pick.
At some point, you get
And they
to
don't
that
get to
point.
cherry pick what repairs they do.
No, and certainly I will pursue more immediate action.
Okay, well, they're gonna be in court. The Realtor told me she's coming back to court on Monday. So, that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Trustee Kilby.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Crowley.
Just a couple things tonight. I will be forwarding the job description for the administrative assistant police clerk. We will need to be putting out a job posting for that position now that our police clerk is transferring to Public Works. So congratulations, Public Works. We're very sorry to see her go. The only other thing I wanted to talk about is I had mentioned we are having our Traffic Safety Committee meeting tomorrow at 5:30 here in the Chambers. If anybody's interested in being a part of that committee or coming and having discussions, that's the place and time that the committee will be here. And I have sent out some sign examples. We're looking into shaking up our signs and how they look, especially speed signs and things like that on the side streets. Once the committee has a consensus on those signs, I'll be bringing them to the board for approval. And immediately following that, we will be having our CPC meeting. And that's all I have this evening, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Attorney Valdez.
Just that we are in the process of preparing our final offer, or pre-arbitration final offer with the firefighters, and that will be discussed in closed session. That's all I have.
Thank you. Under my business, I have the resolution to approve the IGA with the CMAP for the grant readiness. Sorry, I was reading something else. This is for the technical assistance for a grant readiness project. And it's with CMAP. The only real thing I needed to discuss was there was a $2,000 fee. That's the village's match. That's the only money that will be out. It's on the agenda for approval, is it?
It is?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please, Clerk Moscow.
Trustee Crowley?
Aye.
Trustee Hilly?
Aye.
Trustee Burbette?
Aye.
Trustee Caveney?
Aye.
Trustee Johnson?
Aye.
Trustee Killily?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, sir. I will forward that signed copy to them, and they'll get it back to us. I have been holding weekly follow-up meetings with them. It's been very productive. They're going through all of our current or outdated plans, and they're going to start meeting with stakeholders, village trustees, department heads, so they'll be trying to schedule some times to come in and meet personally or by phone or however they can do it best. So it's moving right along, so that's all I have. Do you have anything tonight, Clerk Moscow?
I do. I have a handful of items, but I'll try to go quickly. I did send the board an email yesterday. First few items are on the Historical Society. I did share with the board, it's probably a month or two ago now, that the committee had been looking into getting an inventory software program so that we can have an electronic record and photos and such of all the things that we have in the Historical Society. And so Mrs. Giggleman and some of the other, I think Mr. Becker on the committee, had done some research and selected Past Perfect Museum software as a product they thought would be suitable and actually offer a lot of benefits for the Historical Society. We reached out to them, had a number of conversations. They actually require you to go through some demos and watch what the programs can do before they will even give you a quote for the software. They have desktop versions, which I can't believe companies are still offering today. They have a fully hosted web version, which is what I recommended that we do. And they also offer a module that will allow the committee to release, showcase certain pieces of the collection or the entire collection, whatever they like. If they want to give teasers to try and bring people into the museum for another $300 a year is the pricing. So off-the-shelf pricing for this product, it is, as I said, it's hosted. There's a one-time fee of $1,245. It's $870 for the web hosting that allows them to have an unlimited number of records and photos and 10 users that can be in there, which is more than enough for them. And then $375 for the annual fee for hosting to allow it, the public viewing. So total $2,490. However, for members of the American Association of State and Local History, which the Historical Society just joined last week for a fee of, I think it was $98, they will take 20% off of those prices. So the $2,490 becomes $1,992 for the first year. That includes the setup and everything. And then an annual fee, including the web hosting, of $996. So for $98, we saved a little over $500 if we proceed with this.
Will they put a link on our website that if we have more of the pages?
We could link to the village website. We have a page right now about the Historical Society. And I did double check the Historical Society in total, for those of you who are familiar with the budget, has a budget of, I think it's $23,000 a year. The majority of that, like $18,000 of that, is their allocation for the village's risk insurance. So the rest is very minimal, what they have. They have spent about $425 so far this year of their remaining $5,000. So I don't think for this year this would cause any budget issues with the one-time setup fees.
So were you copied on, I think you were on the email with the risk insurance and all of the properties and that. Gun range, which is boarded up and not used.
Yeah.
So hopefully, when we get that reevaluated, that number will come down too.
Yeah. Does anyone have any concerns or questions about this? Idea is to keep moving forward. Two other things, Historical Society related, they would also like to rename the building, or they would like to rename it from a Historical Society to the Midlothian Historical Museum. Based on some research, they think that will afford them the opportunity to get some grants and funding from other organizations. So that is something we're moving forward with. I did ask, I think that's actually been changed already on the village website. I think we changed it to museum. I did reach out to Public Works and had repair or replace, probably redesign the signs that we have. The sign in front of the building matches the rest of the village signs, which are quite old. And I understand that former superintendent Ed Williquit, so going back probably to the 80s, knew someone who initially built those signs, and Public Works has been repairing them as needed. So someone who could build something that looks like that, so that we can look at some pictures, see what they look like, and when it comes time to replace the other village signs, we'll have someone who can do that instead of all the piecemeal patching. So more to come on that. I think the mayor mentioned last week that St. Christopher's is having their 5K race. We've sent them the approval on Saturday, October 14th. And he and I registered today. So if anyone is interested in joining that,
Please
it's
join
an
us.
early morning, 8:30.
Your
And then one last thing, we did receive a letter, I think I got it yesterday. Permission from the Midlothian Village Board to conduct our annual homecoming parade on Friday, September 29th, 2023. The marchers will line up at Bremen High School at 3:15, and the parade will step off shortly after 3:30. They will proceed east on 152nd Street to Ray Day Drive, north on Ray Day to 151st Street, east on 151st Street to Lawndale Avenue, north on Lawndale to 149th Street, and west on 149th Street to Springfield, where they will go south on Springfield, turning east onto 252nd Street and back into the north parking lot of Bremen High School. If permission is granted, we would appreciate you advising for your consideration. And they included a map. I believe, but I'm going from memory, this is the same route they've had the last couple of years. Do any board members or either Chief Hotwagner, Chief Delaney have any concerns with this? No? Okay. If not, Deputy Clerk Harris will send them a letter to them. Okay, perfect. I'll make sure you get a
question. And what are we waiting for?
So they haven't finished testings for HVAC systems. We're collaborating for whatever with the fire suppression system. That still had some dampers that needed to be replaced. So as soon as the mechanical systems are done and some of the other things that are on the substantial completion list, we'll be done with that. Hopefully sometime this week we'll start getting some signage. So fingers crossed, we're 1 to 2 weeks away from this. That's all that's for.
Say that again? 1 to 2 weeks away from opening?
From getting our substantial completion completed and start moving is. Whatever for the building to be ready to be occupied.
I don't know, that fire suppression today was enough to make me lose my mind.
So we're close.
So Chief Hotwagner, who required us to get that system. I talked with him after.
Hopefully that answers the questions. All right, then I guess it's time to ask for a motion to adjourn to closed session.
I'll make the motion.
I gotta say what for first.
employment compensation of specific employees.
I'll second.
Motion by trustee Johnson.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are in closed session. There will be no further action following closed session.